an orphan girl moves to the mountains to live with her elderly grandfather. Despite him having a reputation as a recluse, Alpohi grows to love and care for her. But what happened next changed everything. Let's start our story. This story begins with an orphan girl, Heidi, after her living with her aunt, who is called Deet, for 5 solid years, and not being permitted to go outside. Heidi has to be going to the mountains to live with her grandpa. Deet works in Frankfurt and can't send Heidi with her, so she ignores all the cautions from neighbors about her grandfather capable of being unfriendly and dangerous. While going up the mountain, Heidi starts to run around, enjoying the freedom rather than caring about being fashionable. When they got there, her grandfather, Alpohi, gets mad, informing them to leave, revealing that he doesn't want to take care of the girl. However, Deet pretends to leave with Heidi but actually leaves her behind and escapes. Alpohi sees this and yells at her, but Heidi even says she doesn't want to stay with her either. Alpohi still doesn't accept Heidi and locks himself in his house. Heidi then decides to sleep happily in the barn with the goats. The next morning, Alpohi reluctantly gives her some goat milk for breakfast and then sends her to church. The priest checks Heidi and says she's healthy and strong. He reveals it's the grandfather's responsibility to take care of his own family. That day, when they get back home, Heidi thinks of where she should sleep. Grandpa boldly tells her she can sleep wherever she wants. Since grandfather only has 1 bed and 1 chair, Heidi looks for another place and finds some stairs. She climbs them and sees an attic full of hay. She decides that will be her bedroom. Heidi then tells Grandpa that she doesn't want to leave, but our grandpa doesn't respond. The next day, Peter, the goat herd, comes by to get Grandpa's goats. So Grandpa asks him to take Heidi with him for the day, and also teach her about mountain life. He gives Heidi some cheese and sausage as her lunch. Heidi is happy to go with Peter and spend the day running with the goats. She likes this much better than being stuck inside the house all day like a center table when she was with her aunt. While Heidi is having a good time, Peter secretly takes a bite of her food and blames it on the poor goats when she notices. Just then, 2 goats start fighting, and Peter hits them with a stick to stop them. Heidi strongly disagrees with this. After stopping him, she offers a deal. If he promises not to hit a goat again, she'll share half of her food with him every day. Peter agrees easily but asks her not to tell Alpohi because people in town believe he did something terrible in the past. When Heidi gets home, she acts awkwardly around Grandpa and says she will sleep in the barn. Alpo suddenly figures out she's heard the rumors. He asks Heidi what she believes more, rumors, or what she's seen herself. Heidi chooses her own judgment and hugs Alpo before going to sleep in the attic. The next day, while Heidi continues to enjoy and become closer to Peter, Alpo does some woodworking to show his granddaughter how much her affection means to him. So later on, when Heidi comes home, she's surprised to see an extra chair at the table. And here's great news, Alpo now let her stay forever. Time then passes, and Heidi enjoys spending time with Peter every single day. Then she even cuts her hair to feel more comfortable. One day, Peter informs her that he won't be around for a few months because he's going to school. When it starts snowing, things get really dull. Alpo carves a small bird for Heidi to cheer her up, but it doesn't work well, so he makes a sleigh for her instead. This turns out to be a great idea. They both enjoy sledding down the mountain. Later on, Alpohi drops Heidi off at Peter's house for them to play. There, she meets Peter's mother and grandmother, but unfortunately his father has passed away. The grandma can't see and can't eat much because she has most of her teeth gone. They only have old bread to eat. Meanwhile, Peter isn't doing well in school and doesn't understand why he needs to learn to read because he herds goats, but his mom won't let him quit. When Alpohi comes for Heidi, she tells him she feels lucky to have him. Years pass quickly, and Heidi lives happily with her grandpa. Deet returns suddenly, saying she found a nice place for Heidi to go to school and make friends, but Alpohi now doesn't want her to leave. He realizes how Deet suddenly cares about Heidi. Seen embarrassed, Deet says she only left Heidi because she had no choice before but now she has. She argues with Alpohi but can't change his mind, so she pretends to leave but actually goes deeper into the mountains to find Heidi with the goats. Deet offers again, and when Heidi wants to stay, Deet says Alpo also wants her to go for her own good. Heidi, being upset, lets Deet take her away, and Peter witnesses everything. When Peter takes the goats back, Alpo notices Heidi is gone and figures out what happened. He rushes to town, but it's too late. Deet has already left with Heidi. In a town called Frankfurt, Heidi is brought to the Sesamon mansion, meeting the butler, Sebastian, maid, Tinette, and governess, Rettenmeier. Rettenmeier is displeased to see Heidi, who seems uncultured, but Diet reminds her this is what they needed, an unsophisticated child to befriend Clara, who is in a wheelchair. As Diet demands her part of the deal and leaves, Heidi then meets Clara. The girls immediately hit it off, and when Heidi accidentally pushes Clara's chair against the table, Clara lies to protect her and tells the governess that it was her fault. There's a lot for Heidi to learn in order to be accepted as Clara's friend. They clean her up, give her a proper dress and boots, teach her table manners, and cease her from running around the house or being loud. Heidi must also take classes with Clara and shocks everyone when she reveals that she can't read. Rettenmeier really wants to get rid of her, but she can't do that until Clara's dad comes back from his trip. So in the meantime, the instructor must teach her how to read while still keeping up with Clara's lessons. Heidi grabs quickly to the rules of the house, but she doesn't change wholly and keeps most of her village life. She still prefers nature over a house and dreams of the mountains every night. And whenever she can get away with it, she hides bread rolls in her pockets. She and Clara grow very close. This bond inspires Clara to share what happened to her after her mother's death. Clara became so sick that she lost her ability to walk. Before Heidi came along, she felt lonely and caged in this mansion because her father's always away on business trips. One afternoon, Heidi refuses to take the daily nap and asks Sebastian to open a window for her. Sadly, she still can't see the mountains, causing Sebastian to explain that in order to see the mountains from here, she would have to get into the very tall city tower. After that, Heidi sneaks Clara out of the house and shows her around the city because Clara is never allowed to go outside. When they find the city tower, Clara waits by the door while Heidi goes as high as possible, only to get disappointed when not even up there it's possible to view the mountains. Clara is a little shaking to be alone, but her mood improves when she finds a person selling kittens and decides to buy them all. Back at the house, Rettenmeier panics when she can't find the girls and sends all the servants out to search for them. It's actually Sebastian who finds them, and Clara fortunately covers the kittens with the blanket they came with before he can see them. When they return home, Rettenmeier tries to scold them but ends up sneezing like crazy because of her allergies. The cat suddenly jumps off Clara's lap, scaring Rettenmeier so badly that she climbs on the furniture, making everyone to make fun of her. Later at dinner, as punishment, Heidi isn't allowed to eat. Instead, she must stand in the corner of the room facing the wall during the whole meal. Rettenmeier promises that next time she'll send her to the cellar with the rats. Heidi won't stand for this, so after dinner, she picks up all the bread rolls she saved for Peter's grandmother and tries to leave. Rettenmeier intervenes her, reminding her she's lucky to be receiving fancy clothes and proper education. But what truly makes Heidi feel bad is seeing a disappointed Clara crying and rushing to her room. Since that day, Heidi's dreams get worse and Clara won't leave her room. Tinette explains she's sick and blames Heidi for it. Feeling even worse now, Heidi visits Clara once her doctor says she's feeling better now and reassures her it's not because she hates her that she wants to leave. Clara understands but still doesn't want Heidi to go because she's all she has. With getting Heidi back at her side, Clara begins leaving her room again and attends classes. However, reading isn't coming easily for Heidi. A couple of days later, Clara's father, Mr. Sesamon, finally comes home and brings with him grandmother Sesamon, who Rettenmeier isn't pleased to see. Clara is very excited to reunite with her family, and both Sesamons are glad to finally meet Heidi too. Mr. Sesamon in particular is very okay with how much better Clara looks, thanks to his idea of getting her a friend. But Rettenmeier tries to change his mind by explaining Heidi continues to be wild and won't learn to read. However, grandmother Sesamon would rather confirm it with her own eyes, rather than trust Rettenmeier's word. Later in the evening, grandmother Sesamon reads Heidi a bedtime story but doesn't finish it because she wants Heidi to do it. Heidi confesses she can't read because Peter claims it was useless. So grandmother Sesamon reminds her that she mustn't trust everything she hears. Since Heidi loves stories and is desperate to know how this one ends, she agrees to put in more effort and practice more often. The next day, grandmother Sesamon tells her son that Heidi is wonderful and can learn to read with the proper encouragement. But she can tell the child isn't happy because this house goes against everything she is. Mr. Sesamon refuses to let Heidi go because she makes Clara happy. Things don't get any easier when strange noises begin echoing around the house every night. Sometimes Sebastian even finds the front door open. All the servants, and even Rettenmeier, think there may be ghosts in the house, but Mr. Sesamon doesn't believe it. With every day, Heidi practices her reading more with the book that Grandmother Sesamon left her and eventually able to read the whole story to everyone. The teacher happily takes all the credit, and Mr. Sesamon decides this shows Heidi is good enough to stay in the house for good. This makes Clara very happy, but Heidi is upset and cries every night before falling asleep. One evening, after Grandmother Sesamon has already gone back to her own house, Mr. Sesamon is playing a game of chess with the doctor when suddenly they hear the noises the servants had cautioned them about. The men grab their guns, thinking it may be thieves, but it turns out it's just Heidi sleepwalking. She comes down every night, opens the door, and stares into the distance before returning to her room, and lying down at the end of the bed same as she would do with a goat. When the doctor checks on her and finds her freezing, Mr. Sesamon looks for a blanket in the closet and finds a new pile of bread rolls Heidi has been saving. Then Heidi wakes up, and when the doctor asks her if she's in pain, Heidi explains her chest hurts. Afterward, the doctor has a chat with Mr. Sesamon in private to explain Heidi is sick with homesickness, and her nerves are in quite a state, so she should be sent home. At first, Mr. Sesamon refuses, but then he spends the night thinking about what happened to his wife. The next morning, when Clara asks about the ghost, her father explains it was Heidi sleepwalking because she's suffering, which is why they'll be sending her home. Clara gets incredibly mad by this news and throws a fit, screaming at Heidi too before she leaves for her bedroom. Heidi is happy to hear she'll go back to Alpo, but she still worries about Clara and tries to talk to her, yet Clara doesn't open the door. When the time comes for Heidi to leave, the servants prepare a basket full of bread rolls and other food she can take to the mountains. Heidi hands Mr. Sesamon her wooden bird to be given to Clara and makes him promise she'll visit her one day. After Heidi is gone, Richest declare that they'll finally have peace again, but karma soon proves her wrong. There's still a kitten around the house. As Richest panics, Tanette picks the kitten up and decides to name it Heidi. As soon as she arrives back in town, the first thing Heidi does is take off her boots and reunite with Peter. She stops by his house to say hello and drop off the food. Then she runs up the mountain, and after ditching her fancy dress, she finally reunites with her beloved grandfather. Heidi easily returns to her old routine and spends her days running through the mountains while herding the goats with Peter. But there still are a few changes. She's finally allowed to go to school, so during the winter months, she and Alpo move with the goats to a house in town. Her new teacher is much not friendlier than Clara's, and sometimes there are physical punishments for misbehaving. Her class laughs at her when she confesses she wants to be a writer when she grows up, but at least she does well in her studies, unlike poor Peter, who still has trouble reading, even when Heidi tries to help him. All the interesting things that happen, Heidi puts in letters for Clara, also saying she misses her a lot and that she should visit. When the letter reaches Clara, it makes her feel bad because she didn't even say goodbye. So Grandmother Sesamon gathers a bunch of servants and together they take Clara up the mountain. While the girls reunite with happiness, Grandmother Sesamon has a drink with Alpo and asks him if Clara could stay for a few days, offering to pay a fee. Alpo is glad to accept but turns down the offer, saying Clara is a guest now. It's Heidi's turn to show her friend Clara what life is like in the mountains. Clara starts wearing simple clothes and eating more simply. She even gets to pet the goats, sleep on hay, and see a shooting star. The two girls spend all their time together, which makes Peter very jealous. He doesn't want to join them when Heidi asks because Clara can't go where he goes in her wheelchair, and Heidi wants to stay with her. One morning, Peter sees Clara's wheelchair outside the house before the girls are awake. His jealousy makes him push the wheelchair off a cliff before he runs away with the goats. When the family notices the wheelchair is gone, Alpo hurriedly figures out who did it. He carries Clara on his back, and together with Heidi, they follow the usual path for herding goats. Now Clara can finally see the rest of the mountains. Alpo is angry at Peter for what he did, and tells him to watch over the girls for the rest of the day. Clara enjoys the pretty view, the flowers, and a cute butterfly that lands on her foot. She tries to catch the butterfly when it flies away, surprising everyone by standing up. Suddenly, walking is still hard for her, so she practices with Heidi and Peter's help over the next few days. Peter changes his mind about Clara after seeing her progress. Later on, Grandmother Sesamon comes to take Clara back home. Her son is upset at first but changes his mind when he sees Clara walking on her own. They hug and cry, and Grandmother Sesamon gives Heidi a notebook and pen to write stories. She tells Heidi to ignore bad comments and do what makes her happy. After saying goodbye to Clara, Heidi goes back to her daily routine with Peter, now carrying her notebook everywhere to write a little every day. That's the end of our movie, and thank you for watching. Don't forget to subscribe. See you in the next video.